Welcome back. Today's story filled with drama and unexpected turns. Hit like, subscribe, and let's jump in.
Wednesday, Ethan sat at the table, staring at his bottle of Mountain Brew. He had only purchased a six-pack since he didn't want to become too intoxicated if anything went wrong in the following few minutes. He heard her music cease upstairs, so he knew she was almost ready. Normally, he worked late on Thursdays since his partner had a ladies' night out with her pals. His parents would babysit their daughter, Lila, while his partner went out for drinks with her female co-workers. He would complete the week's paperwork so he could leave early on Friday and spend more time with his family. It was truly an excellent setup. He regained control of his hectic schedule, his parents were able to indulge their 5-year-old granddaughter, and his spouse had some personal time to rest and lament with friends. At least that's what he believed when he heard her move about upstairs in the bathroom. He remembered the meal he had with Natalie last Monday. I need to get out of the shop more, he reasoned, or at least check if they would deliver those sandwiches, which were fantastic. He had grabbed a seat to monitor the entrance and seen a familiar person enter the eatery. He observed her gazing around and stood up briefly, waving his arm. She noticed him and began going in his way. Natalie, 30, was the eldest of the friends his partner dated. She was his favorite and the only one that got married. She had a knack of making everyone feel comfortable without becoming the group's doormat. He had to agree she was fairly attractive, too, with her black wavy hair and pale face. There were no curves to speak of, but she had a stunning face and legs that extended all the way up. Her husband, Daniel, felt she had hung the moon, and the feeling was mutual. She still received her fair share of male attention as she pulled up a chair and sat across from him. "Thank you for meeting me, Ethan. I know how busy you are at work, and taking this time out can't have been easy," she murmured, her gaze fixed on his face. No problem, Natalie," Ethan said, though he had to tell her, "I feel a little uncomfortable meeting you here without Rachel. I don't make it a point to have lunch with pretty ladies that I am not married to, but you said it was about Rachel, so I'm all ears. I am guessing you want to surprise her for her birthday next month." He wasn't expecting to see the sad look on her face when he mentioned having lunch with her. He was also astonished to see her countenance sink further when he announced Rachel's birthday. "What's up, Ethan? I know you and Rachel love each other, and I have seen you together enough to know that what you guys have is special. So it is only because of this that I am coming to you. This may end up ruining my friendship with her, but if you can save your marriage, I'm okay with it. There is no easy way to say this, but Rachel has been seeing someone for the past 4 months. Ethan was astonished. This must be a poor prank, and he told Natalie so. "I am so sorry, Ethan, but it is not a joke. About 3 months ago, after you picked up this project you were working on, Rachel was in a funk at work. She was grumpy, and when we went out, she was even quieter than usual. After a few martinis, we were able to pull out of her that she was missing you and feeling abandoned. She also started talking about how she felt you two were just a middle-aged married couple who were letting life pass you by." At this moment, the waiter came over to collect Natalie's order. She ordered a Cobb salad and iced tea with lemon. Ethan was still reeling from the thought that his mate would be sneaking around. He bet his life that Rachel would have informed him if she was unhappy throughout their 9-year relationship. He believed they had always been open about their emotions, even when they knew the other would disagree. He asked Natalie the question he wanted answered right away: "Has she cheated on me?" He murmured. "No, at least not that I know of, and I think I would be able to tell. Believe it or not, your partner is a pretty open person. That is why I am shocked by how she is acting. Ethan, you have to know that every woman I have talked to has said these same things. I figure it is almost like how you guys always complain about being dragged down by the ball and chain or whatever terms you use amongst yourselves." When she started talking about this, we all commiserated and told her, "What does your sister have to do with anything?" Ethan inquired, holding back his rage. "Frankly, my sister is a bad influence," Natalie said. The waiter who served her tea arched an eyebrow when he overheard her statement. Natalie took a sip and then continued, "My parents were serial cheaters. I have no idea who cheated first, but they were always looking for revenge on the other. When I was 17, I asked them why they bothered staying together, and they looked at me like I was from another planet. They told me they loved each other, and that was all that mattered. This affected my sister and me differently. I felt like cheating was the best way to ruin a happy relationship, and my sister, Emma, made the comment that if she wasn't getting romance at home, maybe she should try to find it somewhere else. I told Emma she was wrong, but Sophia and Ava started talking about the best way to pick up a guy and how to keep it secret. I think for those two, it was purely an academic conversation, especially since they weren't married. Rachel said she would never go behind your back, but I think my dumbass sister. Why do you think that? Ethan inquired, now that he wasn't certain she had slept around. He began to digest more information. None of this was enjoyable to hear, but he had always thought that information was empowering. Because the next week, Logan and his crew showed up at the Pine Ridge pub where we were drinking. Rachel says she didn't invite him, but she did mention to him that we were going to try line dancing that night. It was actually kind of fun having more people try something new, and it would have been great except for Logan. Now he had a name. Knowledge is power. Tell me about this, Logan, Ethan hissed. Natalie smiled slightly at the tone of Ethan's speech. She kept going. Logan is the company Romeo. He takes a run at every female, and any who give him the slightest interest find themselves the recipient of his charms. He doesn't care if they are married or even if they are particularly good-looking, he just likes the chase. Your partner shot him down early on, and he never pushed until that night. Now he is chasing your partner, and she is running instead of standing her ground and putting a stop to it. It is an open secret that if Logan gets any more charges of harassment brought against him, he is fired. She could end his advances, and she isn't. In fact, they have been regular seatmates at the cafeteria for the last couple of months, whispering and giggling. I have tried talking to her about this, but she just gets angry and tells me they are friends, and Logan listens to her and understands her problems. I asked her if she would act like this if you were sitting. Natalie's lunch arrived at this moment, and she began eating it while glancing at Ethan for a response. Ethan took a large swallow of lemonade but didn't taste it at all. His thoracic cavity seemed empty, and his eyes refused to concentrate. He couldn't see how she could believe he didn't mind her flirting with another guy. He knew had never been unduly jealous, but that was because he loved and trusted his partner. As for not recognizing her, he wondered whether he had been so preoccupied with this job endeavor. It was supposed to be a big payday, but he could have gone too far. He pondered what had occurred a month ago. Did he really want to know? They ate in quiet for about 5 minutes as he processed what she had said. He was undoubtedly furious. There was no need for her to be so attached to another guy, yet he could almost see her reasoning. If he had been more attentive, maybe this entire situation would not have occurred. Also, apart from not informing him about her flirtatious relationship with Logan, she hadn't truly lied to him, lies of omission, maybe, but so far, he could excuse her conduct and seek to correct it. He'd chat to her and hear her side of the tale. They could proceed as long as she was honest and promised to avoid the jerk. So far, he hasn't seen any long-term harm, unless something occurred in the previous 3 weeks. So tell me about a month ago, how bad is it? He said, now back on firm mental footing. He had his feet beneath him. He could deal with this. She looked at him sympathetically. This is where it gets rough, Ethan. 3 weeks ago, we all ended up at the Pine Ridge pub again for line dancing. Logan and his boys showed up, and we were all dancing together and having a good time. Rachel had been drinking a little more than she usually does. Logan had been buying her drinks all night and was getting quite tipsy. I went to the bathroom with her, and she was more out of it than I realized. When she came out of the bathroom stall, Rachel and Logan were bumping and grinding on the dance floor when I noticed the line dancing was over, and it was just a jukebox for the rest of the night. She was almost drunk, so I chalked it up to the alcohol and helped her back to our table. I started rounding up Sophia and Ava to take Rachel back to my house so she wouldn't come home too drunk, but then I noticed her underwear in her hand, and she put them in Logan's pocket as the song ended. Oh, Ethan, I am so sorry, she paused as she noticed his expression. His mouth actually hung gaping. He needed to get out of there. Excuse me for a second, he said, walking to the restroom. He entered and shut the door behind him. He sprayed water on his face and held the sink as tightly as he could. He recalled the night she was speaking about. Rachel generally arrived home about 11:30 p.m., but it was after 2:30 when she arrived that night. Natalie had phoned and informed him that she was going to remain at her house for a bit since she had had too many drinks. When Rachel was sober enough, she would call a taxi for her. This had occurred a few times previously, and Ethan had always been glad that Natalie and the girls were so careful in avoiding a DUI. He had always believed that getting a bit blitzed was part of the pleasure of going out and letting free. He really wasn't upset about it. He also recalled what occurred that night when she returned home. He recalled being awakened by the warm touch of Rachel's lips on his. This entire incident had caught him by surprise, and before he realized it, "Oh my God, honey, that was incredible," he said. "I am sorry it was over so soon, but please allow me to make it up to you. Let's see what you got." As she stood up, he grabbed her head and gave her the deepest tongue kiss he could. He tried some alcohol and a little bit of himself, but he wasn't freaked off at all. After her performance, she deserved at least a kiss. He broke the lip lock and began kissing the crook of her neck. She used to grin and wriggle whenever he did it. He stroked her collar down between her breasts. Had heard that some women had really sensitive places, but Rachel was not one of them. That was great with him, since after 9 years together, he had discovered a few more spots on her body that she would like. He let his tongue gently slide down through her thin strip of hair and between her swollen lips. He pushed her to the bed. "Please, baby, make love to me," he pleaded. He could feel her body tightening up. He wanted to caution her about waking their daughter, but that was amazing. "Oh my God, baby, I haven't felt that good in a while," she said, and they got into some of the hottest wrestling they'd ever had. "I taste pretty good, don't I?" she replied, breaking off their kiss. "The sweetest thing ever, baby," he said, "but don't think we are done. You started something that I now have to finish." He cracked a joke. This was shaping out to be the finest night ever. "Screw me, lover," she hissed, looking at him with lustful eyes. Tonight, he had a lovely lady who wanted him to take her. They both had great sex. He snapped back to the present. He was now shivering with wrath because he believed she had gotten heated up about her guy and had come home to take it out on him. Damn, he thought. What if she was thinking about him when they were having sex? He sprayed more water on his face, wiped himself, and returned outside. As he sat down, he saw Natalie's sympathetic expression but had no clue how to reply. His lunch was abandoned on the table. "What else do I need to know, Natalie?" inquired the gentleman. "Ethan, that is about all there is. The last couple of girls' nights have been at Emma's house with wine and lingerie parties. At work, Rachel had been acting very cool towards Logan, even though he has been really sniffing around her. I had thought that it was done, but just yesterday, I saw them talking. They shut up when I came around the corner, so I have no idea what they are up to, but I am done with it. I figured you needed to know, and maybe you can do." The waiter arrived to hand them their check. He snatched it before she could touch it and began pulling out his credit card. "I want to see these guys in action together and maybe scare them straight," he told me. "Rachel says you're going to the Pine Ridge pub this week, so when you go on Wednesday, you'll show up and observe from across the room." He quickly stopped talking when he spotted Natalie's scared expression. "What did I say wrong?" he inquired. "Ethan, Emma has a doctor's appointment early in the morning Friday, and she is going to see her brother in Florida. If Rachel is going out on Wednesday, it is not with us." She stretched across the table and took his hand. "I am so sorry, honey," she murmured regretfully. "I know better than to ask if you're okay, but hey, race my home phone number, call anytime to talk to Daniel or me." Her husband was a marital counselor by profession, so speaking with him may be beneficial. "Thank you for telling me, Natalie. I know it must have been difficult for you, but I really think you are being a good person and a good friend. I don't know what will happen in the future, but now I know what is going on, and I can take some action. Thank you again." As he thanked her, he stood up to leave, signing the credit card bill and walking out. Today was a significant milestone in Ethan's endeavor. They had been able to get pre-manufactured components from a startup business in Springfield, which would cut the turnaround time by 3 months while still providing them with at least a week's cushion despite the problematic shipping logistics. 2 more phone calls and this strategy would be completed 3 months ahead of schedule, saving the military millions. The monetary incentive would be as substantial as Ethan had anticipated, and the attention that putting his name on the project would bring would be welcome. He should have been overjoyed, but instead he was thinking about how much he didn't want to go home and do what he assumed he had to do. He had chosen to investigate this situation on his own. He couldn't access her work email, but he doubted they'd put anything on it since it was monitored. He logged into her Yahoo Mail account but found nothing. She may have created a different account, but he wouldn't have known until he logged onto their home computer. Ethan was aware that he lacked technological proficiency, which contributed to the difficulty. The notion of purchasing surveillance cameras or outfitting his home with voice-activated microphones seemed appealing in principle, but he already had a strategy in place to face her. All he needed was as much information as possible to determine how far he would have to go to salvage or end his marriage. Rachel had already taken their daughter Lila from his parents and tricked him into taking Chinese home. When he sent her the text asking what she wanted, she replied, "After 10 years together, and 8 of those married, you should know what I like, babe." He couldn't resist to dig in his reply, "I just wanted to make sure you were still happy with the status quo." His phone dinged back, "You are right, get me an extra egg roll." If it weren't for the bombshell dropped yesterday, he would have been so happy to come home an hour early and just spend time with his partner. When he glanced at his clock, he realized that before the project, this time would have been regarded 2 hours late. He also noticed that he hadn't returned home early with his family on Fridays since this began. With him being weary and agitated even when he was home, it was easy to understand how Rachel might feel neglected, not that she had any right to do what she was doing. Walking inside the front door, he saw his companion reaching up for a wine bottle. He stood there, admiring her body. At 30, she was a woman in her prime. Her 57 frame had just enough curves to be mouth-watering, and he had a great view of her tight rear, even through the bulky sweatpants she was wearing. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and when she turned around and hit him with that $1,000,000 smile, he couldn't help but think how lucky he was to be with her. "I'm pleased you're home, baby. How was it at work?" She moved up to give him a gentle kiss on the lips. "Pretty good. We got a huge breakthrough on certain supplies, so we'll probably be finished at least a month ahead of time. I know I've been out of it with this project. I also understand that it is unfortunate that I am unable to discuss details with you since it is classified. I just want you to know that you and Lila are the most important things in my life, and I will do all in my ability to protect us for as long as I can," he added, staring into her eyes. Did he detect a flicker of remorse or shame, or was he just seeking for something? This was one of those days when he cursed his inability to read people. He was often labeled a straight shooter because he spoke plainly and directly and expected others to do the same. He knew he could come across as abrasive at first, but once people realized he meant what he said and was upfront about things, they actually liked him. His technique had worked for him for 35 years, and he saw little reason to change until now. "Oh, honey," she said, "we both love you and understand. I'll confess it, I wish you were more involved in the family. I understand that this is just temporary. It does make me feel so wonderful to hear you admit it, however." She nearly seemed like tears were gathering in her eyes. Was she really this brilliant as an actress? "So, could you explain me what having the project completed early means to you?" she inquired as she began collecting food packages from the back. "Well, first and foremost, it entails a substantial wage increase. I'm not sure how much until the project is approved, but we're not talking petty cash. The fact that we handled our first government job and did it well should lead to further business for the firm. My name being the lead will also attract some government-type headhunters trying to hire me. The bosses are aware of this, so I should be able to extract some useful information from them if everything goes as planned." He attempted to eat his sweet and sour pork with chopsticks while chatting, but it always took too long, so he grabbed a fork. "Haven't I told you all this already?" he questioned her, holding a bit of pork. "Not that I recall, darling," she said. "All I remember you saying was that you were going to take on a major deal that you couldn't speak about, but it would be worth it. Then it seems I haven't actually spoken to you since then." She looked sad. "But it looks like you'll have my husband back soon." He stared at her, thinking it was time to go fishing. "So, which bar are you going to tomorrow night, ladies? Should I swing by after work to ensure you're all ready to drive home?" he inquired in what he believed was a casual tone. "Oh, actually, we decided to hit the Pine Ridge pub for some line dancing, but I think we will be done before you get off work," she answered, glancing down at her orange chicken. His heart sank. Lila selected that moment to finish her egg roll and requested him to tell her tales. He picked up his plate and washed it in the sink before grabbing her and taking her to the living room. For the next hour, he doted on his kid, reading story after story until she fell asleep. As he wiped away his tears, he walked up to Lilith's room and tucked her in, thinking about what the next few days would bring. He heard snoring from the sofa and noticed her curled up with her own book on her lap. He picked her up and walked her upstairs to her bedroom, putting her in her bed and tucking her in. He wanted her to remember these good nights with her mother and father rather than the rough nights that were likely to come. He found it plugged into the wall on the nightstand in their room, swiped up, left, and right to unlock it, and began looking through her texts. It didn't take long for him to find what he was looking for, and scrolling back, he saw they started about 4 months ago. "Hey, pretty lady, it was fun seeing you girls out dancing last night. Same here. Ethan works late on Thursdays, and the in-laws keep the child so we can enjoy lady time. Your hubby is a good guy letting you get out of the house every once in a while. Yes, he is wonderful." For the next few weeks, all the texts were pretty harmless. Then this exchange: "Natalie gave me the riot act today regarding our lunch breaks. I was upset, but she has a valid point. I don't want people to get the incorrect impression about us. It's simply innocent conversation, we're not doing anything illegal." She wondered whether Ethan would be alright with the way we were behaving, which made me believe we could be sending the wrong message. Besides, I don't need to share my difficulties with another man. I'm going to attempt to chat to Ethan. I get that, but if you can't grab his attention, you know where to find me. I would even buy you supper if necessary, simply as a buddy. Ethan didn't recall Rachel attempting to talk to him about anything, but that could have been the time he discovered they needed what was essentially food-grade stainless steel for the application. He spent days trying to find a supplier who could manufacture the quantities they required, and you could have dropped a bomb on him and he wouldn't have noticed. So far, all the messages from her end were innocent, but he believed it was quite apparent Logan was using her. How could she not notice this? He scrolled down to find the next series of texts. You need to give those back today. What are you talking about? You know darn well that my pals are pissed off at me right now, and I do not blame them. If Ethan finds out how big of a flirt I was, he could leave me. So you do not want me to show him the video? What video? You cannot let anybody at work see that. Eli was present, and he recorded a video using his phone. I'll make sure he deletes it. You will owe me, though. Fine, I can't lose Ethan, not after last night. What happened last night? It's truly none of your business. Was he upset because you arrived home late and drunk? Oh, hell no. Let's just say there was some real-world rocking going on, and that's all. So some filthy dance with me got you all excited for your husband. You should be thanking me. You were a jerk. Last night was amazing, and it was all because Ethan and I adore one another. Now return my underpants and make sure that nasty video is wiped. That statement makes me seem like a real flirt. Ethan deserves better than me. Now he's fortunate to have you. He wasn't there to keep an eye on you, right? I'm sure he's a nice man, but you go out alone a lot. I do not need somebody to keep an eye on me. Please be the friend you claim to be and take care of what I ask. Sorry, of course I will help you, and then I let you buy me dinner. Just make sure no one sees that video, and I will do whatever you want. Nothing until last Monday I heard lattice night was cancelled. How about the dinner? That's not a good idea. I apologize. Oh, come on. Ethan is off to work, and the girls will leave you alone. One night out with a buddy, and we can talk about things as we used to in the cafeteria. Besides, you owe me. Fine, I will meet you at the Pine Ridge pub at 8. Nope. Meet me at Bistro Bliss at the Hilton Suites. They offer amazing beer deals, and I don't want to be shouting at a bunch of intoxicated fools. I will reserve a room in case we drink too much. Fine, but this is just a couple of friends having dinner, and I do owe you for making sure that video never got out. I got it. It's terrible enough that folks at work heard about it. Don't worry, I saw Eli erase the video. Soon, someone else will do something controversial, and you will be all right. See you at 8. There it was, possibly the end of a marriage. How many times have you seen your spouse accept a date with another guy in a restaurant or bar at a hotel? How could this possibly go well? How could she possibly believe that sex wasn't on the table? He closed the text messages and put the phone back into the charger, then undressed and climbed into bed alone. Sleep had been a long time coming. Wednesday, she walked down the stairs wearing her tiny black dress that she usually wore on their dates. She looked gorgeous, and she stopped at the foot of the steps when she spotted him seated at the table. Oh, Ethan, I didn't expect you home this early. Today, babe, she looked pale. We need to talk, he continued with practically no emotion in his voice. This is probably the most important conversation we will ever have. Please have a seat. She sat down, looked afraid, and sought to grab his hand as they would typically do, but he yanked it away. I know there is no ladies' night out. I know you've been seeing Logan behind my back, he began. Ethan, please allow me to explain, he immediately cut her off by banging his fist on the table. Damn it, Rachel, listen to me. He yelled. You don't get to speak until I've spoken my piece. She cowered back and began to cry. He looked impassively at her and continued, as I was saying, I know you were snuggling with Logan at lunchtime. I understand you've been dancing with him at the Pine Ridge pub. I know you removed your underpants and handed them to him after some hot bumping and grinding on the dance floor. I know you only jumped me a month ago because you were so obsessed with him. I also know you're going on a date with him tonight at a restaurant at a hotel where your boyfriend will have a room available. I'm not sure if you've slept with him or given him a blowjob yet. I'm not sure what would have stopped you if you hadn't. He paused, attempting to suppress his wrath. Rachel, you lied by omission to me about Logan. You lied by omission to me about your pantyless dancing, and you lied to me about going out with the girls. Frankly, I am tired, and my trust in you is broken. I am not sure I even want to work on this marriage anymore. Your actions make me think you don't care about this marriage anymore, so I will give you 3 choices. He extended his index finger. Choice 1: you walk out that door and go see your a-hole boyfriend. Even if you don't sleep together tonight, this choice will end our marriage. 0 chance of me wanting to save it. He raised one more finger. Choice 2: you and I sit here all night, and you try to convince me to work on staying married to you. You will have a hard sell because I am not inclined to trust a single word out of your mouth. However, you might be able to do it because I do love you, and we have a child to think about. I would say you have a 50% chance of me working to save this. He extended a 3rd finger. If you haven't slept with, performed, or received oral sex with him, I promise you that I will be 100% committed to making this relationship work. If you have slept with or performed oral sex with him, I promise you that I will be 100% committed to making this relationship work. She seemed to be ready to vomit up and was looking at him in dread. 0, 50, or 100. Rachel, what is it going to be? The question remained in the air for almost a minute. When his wife glanced up at him, it seemed like she was struggling not to vomit. Ethan, I am so sorry about everything, and I desperately need to talk to you. In answer to your question, though, do you want to drive, or do you want me to? Well, that was unexpected. He honestly thought she was going to leave them. He adored her son. He assumed she would spend the whole night making explanations for her actions. Bringing him to view her a-hole certainly earned her some points. She was still in the red, however. He grabbed his keys and followed her out to his vehicle. He opened the door for her out of habit, and she almost burst into tears. She glanced over at him as he pulled out of the driveway. I really screwed us up, didn't I? She said softly. Yes, Rachel, you really did, he said, maintaining his gaze on the road. What can I do to fix it? She inquired. He considered for a moment. He was putting together a few plans. Well, first thing, complete honesty from here on. I shouldn't have to say this, but apparently, you think it is okay to not mention things I should know about and lie to me. Along with that, you are going to have to find a way to make me believe what you are saying. I don't know how you plan to do that, but frankly, I am not the one who ruined our trust. Another thing I don't feel I should have to mention, but am going to: he is dead to you if we stay together. You don't talk to him at work, you don't ask him how his day is going. If he shows up at a bar you're at, you leave. If you can't leave, you call me right away. You don't accept drinks or gifts from him, no matter what he says. When we get back from tonight, you're going to tell me everything. Even Stu. Her phone beeped as he finished talking, indicating that she had a text message. She glanced down and became more paler. It's him. He's wondering where I am, she said. He reached out his hand for her phone. She handed it to him without saying anything. He went back through her messages. There were a few new ones from earlier today. Hey, I got a room with a jacuzzi. Maybe after dinner, we can relax. Bring your bikini. You are not going to be able to get me drunk enough to get into a hot tub with you. I am not bringing a bikini. We will have to see. You know how you get when you are drunk. Maybe you won't need a bikini. And now where are you? I have a glass of wine waiting for you. He replied back, I'm running a little late, but I have a surprise for you. You brought your bikini. Excellent. He said, returning the phone to his wife. She read the sentences and just hung her head. You know he is not helping your cause, right? Just the text from today makes it sound like you are going to hook up with him tonight. How bad will it look if I scroll back farther? He said. Of course, he was aware of how horrible things looked. I guess I should ask, do you think that your text messages today were inappropriate flirting? Can you see how these exchanges have killed all the trust one have in you? He heard her sobs. Ethan, I swear I only planned on having dinner tonight. I never planned to sleep with him. He couldn't help it. He gazed at her as if she were a ghost. Did you plan on giving him your underwear after getting wasted and bumping and grinding with him a few weeks ago? He didn't imagine she could become much paler. He was incorrect. Ethan, we are almost there. You should probably do something with your makeup and think about what you are going to say to Logan. Oh, don't drink the wine, he advised. She lowered the visor and took a tissue from the glove box. She began to pull herself together and stop weeping as she applied her mascara. She asked with a voice that was more common, Ethan, I can see why you think Logan was playing me. Hearing you talk about it makes me think he was. But Ethan, how could I have not seen it? I know my recent decisions don't show it, but I am not a dumb little girl. I have fended off better looking and more sophisticated guys than Logan, so why did he get to me? That right there is one of the reasons I have a tough time believing anything you say, Rachel. You are a beautiful, intelligent woman who should be able to see this for what it is. That is why I have to wonder if you were going along with it willingly, he told me. Add to that the fact that I went to a bar with this guy and lied to you about going to dinner with him tonight. No wonder you are so angry and hurt. Her color seemed to be returning, and her voice became a bit stronger. Okay, I screwed this up, and now I have to find a way to fix it. Thank you for giving me a chance. She intended to kiss him, but he twisted his head at the last moment and let it drop on his cheek. I'm still not over this, not by a long shot. She glanced at him, almost stunned. We are normally pretty affectionate. I hope we can get back to that. What do you want me to say to him? She said as they entered the restaurant's parking lot. He located a parking place and turned off the engine after driving in. He stared across at her, letting some of his rage out. What do I want you to say, Rachel? Our relationship is on life support here because of your actions with this jerk. The two of you have destroyed a central pillar of our marriage. Our daughter could be spending Thanksgiving with you and Christmas with me. I want this fact to sink in. Then tell him whatever the hell you want. She sat silently for a minute before drawing in a trembling breath and opening the vehicle door. As they came up to the hotel's restaurant, she made a move to take his arm. He didn't back away, but he didn't like her touch. They stepped in and saw a lovely auburn-haired girl standing behind a tiny booth. Welcome to Bistro Bliss. Are there two in your party? She inquired. Rachel spoke out just as Ethan was going to speak. We're supposed to meet someone here, and they've already taken their seats, she remarked formally. Oh, okay. Feel free to look around, the hostess said. Ethan had no idea what the person looked like, so he followed his wife. She gently elbowed him and indicated towards the rear of the restaurant. There was a guy seated in the rear of the restaurant, near the hotel entrance. It seemed like he was using his phone. Rachel strode determinedly toward the table. She came to a halt but made no attempt to sit down. He glanced up, spotted her, and smiled broadly. It took him a second to realize she was with the person behind her. When he recognized Ethan, his smile faded and his eyes furrowed slightly. Look, this is my husband, Ethan Harrison. He has concerns about our relationship, and after talking with him, I have to agree. For the first time in our marriage, I have given my husband reason to doubt my fidelity. I will be working hard to repair the breach of trust one caused by my relationship with you. From this point forward, I want nothing to do with you. You have no reason to call me, text me, or otherwise try to communicate with me. I acknowledge my part in letting my husband is aware of my reprehensible actions at the Pine Ridge pub. I will do all I can to salvage my relationship with my spouse, including alerting HR first thing tomorrow about the problem. I will inform them that any effort to speak with me about anything unrelated to our business would be deemed unwelcome attention. As she moved away, she dropped a large kiss on him before he could respond, looking into his eyes for a second. I am so sorry, she mumbled. He couldn't help but look at her as she walked over to the bar. That went better than he expected. As he slid into the booth across from the disconcerted playboy, he couldn't help but size him up. Dark hair, thin build, and dressed to perfection, he would probably be considered attractive, but Ethan had never been good at looking at men. Logan was probably about the same height as Ethan, though it was difficult to tell because he was seated. Logan kept glancing at the glass of wine across the table from him, which almost confirmed his suspicions. This was the time to play it cool. He knew roughly what he wanted to happen, but he was having to make some of it up as he went along. Thinking on his feet was not one of his strengths. You thought your surprise was her wearing a bikini, Ethan replied with a half-smile. Do you really think she told you everything? Logan responded with a smile. Now that sucker was in front of him, Ethan felt calm. Actually, I do. I've known that lady for 10 years, and we've been married for 8. I believe I have a better hold on her than some attractive guy who has been after her for 4 months. He maintained a grin. The server approached Ethan and inquired about his drink order, which was a double Johnny Walker Black on the rocks. She gives a great, Logan replied, still attempting to smirk. He looked at the glass of wine he had purchased for Rachel again. Yes, she does, Ethan said, this time with a full grin, but I don't think you were talking from experience. Do you want pictures? He inquired, half laughing. This man was attempting to get under Ethan's skin. He understood he should be reaching across the table for him, but instead he ended up laughing. You don't have any photographs. If she had gone that far with you, there would have been no need for you to poison her drink. What methods are aspiring molesters adopting these days? GHB. Rohypnol. Or simply plain old X. Logan shrank back as Ethan leaned across the table, now enraged. You little son of a witch. I should kick the heck out of you right now, but I'm not sure I want to kill you. I do not need to go to prison right now. I offered my wife 3 options, and now I'm offering you 3. He placed one finger beneath Logan's nose and said, 1. You go bye-bye. You go apologize to my wife now and leave your job tomorrow. I swear not to come after you. Then you leave town. He raised another finger. 2. You go to the police, confess to spiking my wife's drink, serve your sentence, and leave my wife alone. I'll be monitoring you, but I won't pursue you. Then you leave town. He lifted his 3rd finger. 3rd, I sign us up for boxing lessons. In 4 weeks, you and I will enter the ring. Personal injury waivers will be signed, and we will not leave until we are unconscious. Even when you wake up, you continue to ignore my wife. Then you leave town. The waiter dropped off his scotch just as he finished up, and Ethan took a long swallow, enjoying the burn. Time to get back to cool. You must think I'm an idiot. Why would I agree with any of those options? Logan scoffed. Ethan thought he was giving a threatening smile. Because you don't want to be looking over your shoulder for the rest of your wretched life. Every time you go to your vehicle in the dark, you'll worry whether I or one of my pals will be there with a baseball bat to crush your knees and trample on your balls. Every time you open your door at home, you never know whether I or one of my pals will rush in and tie you to a chair before cutting off your balls. Every time you go to a bar, you never know whether I or one of my friends will put something into your drink, arrange for some backdoor lovin', and then stomp your balls. You would not do any of it. You are a teddy bear. At least that's what your wife told me when I finished banging her the other night. Logan's face was regaining its color, and Ethan took another drink of his scotch before reaching into his pocket and pressing the button that activated his phone's audio record feature, hoping that it would capture the following few phrases of discussion. I should have planned it better. You plan to drug and attack my wife tonight, slime sucker. Do you want to risk a lifetime of agony and suffering that I won't do precisely what I said? It was time to go fishing. The drugs were just to put her in the mood for when I had my buddies over. We planned to make her airtight tonight. Ethan's composure dissipated, and he was able to grip Logan's collar with his left hand and drag him toward him, though he couldn't get much strength behind the blow with his right fist since he was sitting down. He heard a gratifying crunch and felt Logan's nose give way. You scumsucker. I am going to contact the police, Logan screamed as he grasped his nose. Go for it, you jerk. I'd want for them to test the leftover wine in that glass for drugs and then listen to the audio of you confessing to it. Within 10 minutes, the cops were investigating the disturbance. Apparently, 2 state troopers were taking a lunch break at the subway across the street. They took Ethan's statement and bagged the remaining wine and wine glass for testing. They searched Logan and discovered a packet of white powder. Logan asked for a lawyer and refused to say anything else. They listened to Ethan's recording and took his cell phone as evidence. It was difficult, but you could just make out Logan talking about the drugs and the plan for the assault. It was nearly 4 a.m. before Ethan and Rachel were able to leave the police station after she finished giving her statement. One of the cops spent almost 15 minutes telling her what a great guy Ethan was and how he had saved her from a drug-induced assault. She was a basket case by the end of it all. Logan remained in police custody, and they were able to use her mobile phone to provide a concise explanation to Ethan's parents, who were sympathetic and offered to look for Lila. They planned to take her to the zoo, which she would like. After driving into the garage and turning off the vehicle, both of them simply gazed at one another. Rachel unbuckled her seatbelt and hugged Ethan across the console. He let her weep on his shoulder for about a minute before gently pushing her away. Rachel, we still need to speak, but it's late and we should go to bed. We'll both call into work tomorrow and spend the day together figuring out how to proceed. Does this sound like a plan? Yes, Ethan, bed sounds nice. She whispered quietly, can I sleep in the bed with you? Of course, baby. He awoke the following morning spooned up to his partner, thinking about how they got to where they were last night and feeling that things may be able to be all right. They still had a few more chats to go before he committed to anything. They went to IHOP for breakfast and spoke about Lila and how much fun she and his parents must be having. After a cup of coffee, they paid the bill and left. They sat at the kitchen table and stared at one another. Okay, I guess I will start this, he began. I think you can see what a bad person Logan is now, so I am not going to beat that dead horse. She glanced down. He claimed you gave a wonderful, she paused, kiss, and that you dubbed me a teddy bear after screwing him a few days ago. Is any of this true? No, the farthest I traveled with him was that dreadful night at the Pine Ridge pub. I understand how bad my actions were that night, but it never went any further, she said. How can you make me believe that? You lied about seeing him last night, as well as by omission about that night at the pub and your whole friendship with him. I thought it was time to put all of my cards on the table. I've been racking my head trying to figure that one out, and I believe I have something. How about a polygraph test? She asked. A polygraph test? Did she mean a lie detector test? He had to grin a little bit. You mean a polygraph test? A lie detector test? She nodded, yes. Make an appointment and ask me any questions you have. Just give me the time and location. The earnest smile on her face was so sweet. I know that those tests are not 100% accurate, but I would feel a lot better if you came up telling the truth. I'll see what I can do. It may take some time to set up, but this is an excellent concept. Actually, more than I would have expected, he said. She grinned, okay, that's a good start, and we'll discuss the scope of your affair later. I believe my next question is the most important one. This is the one that pains me the most and has the most influence on our relationship. How should we proceed? I understand your humiliation and refusal to inform me about the panty incident. I don't like it, but I get it. I'm having a hard time coping with the idea that you grew so close to another man without informing me, but if you believed it was simply a business relationship, I can understand. What I can't understand and what makes me want to just walk away before I get hurt again is when you told me you were going out with the girls and you were going to meet him for dinner, a 100% direct lie. Forget about the consequences, you broke my heart when you told me you were going out with the girls. He could feel tears forming. I know my eyes were watering. I couldn't help it. Ethan, all I can do is tell you my mindset at the time. First, let me say that I am so sorry for lying to you about everything. When you took this project, for the first time since we have been together, I felt like I was in second place. I am not blaming you or your work, I know why you took it and why it was so important to you. I am just telling you how I felt. I started feeling down, and then Natalie's sister said something I couldn't get out of my head. She said I never understood it to indicate that I should cheat on you. I took it to mean that while you were working on this project, it was okay for me to find what I was seeking for elsewhere. Logan comes into the picture. I didn't know it, but he was fulfilling my yearning to be unique. He inquired about my day. He inquired about my child and family. We discussed pastimes that I felt were cool. Basically, we were chatting about me. She took a pause and scrutinized his face for a response. He didn't believe he gave her one. When Natalie called me out on how it looked at lunchtime, I realized what I was doing. I was using Logan to get what I thought I couldn't have from you, and I did calm it down. At the time, I assumed he was just being a buddy, but I wanted to make things right with you. I didn't invite him or his pals that wild night. I went there early, and they arrived before the rest of the gals. Logan was buying drinks for everyone, including me. I ended up getting as drunk as I have been since we have been together. I did some stupid and shameful things of which you were aware, but then we had some pretty mind-blowing sex, and that confused me even more. How could I be such a flirt without you there and then have it turn out to be so wonderful with you later? She got up and had a glass of water. After drinking half of it, she sat back down. Then came damage control. I knew you would be pissed about what I did, and rightfully so. If you got drunk and kissed another woman on a dance floor, I would go for your balls. I even knew it would be worse because we had such a hot session afterward. You would wonder if I was thinking of something or someone else, so I made another one of my many mistakes. I tried to use my friend Logan to help cover it up, and he supposedly did. He made sure I was aware of it. So here I am, owing a favor to a buddy who only wants to take me to dinner on a night when my normal pals are unable to go. I'm still lonely since I didn't expect you to come home so late. So, in a moment of idiocy, I make a mistake, and I really apologize. Our friendship has always been founded on mutual trust. I screwed up. Even though she wasn't weeping, tears were streaming down her cheeks. Ethan stood up and hugged her, giving her a deep kiss before pulling away. He had to say something. We aren't there yet, and it will take some time, but if you are 100% in, so am I. Rachel and he went to counseling for a while, and the counselor suggested Rachel get tested for hormonal imbalance, which she did after a few tests and changing her birth control. He learned that even though communication was a strength when they first met, they still needed to work on it. Rachel became interested in the self-defense classes being taught there, and Wednesday Girls Bar Night became Wednesday Girls Self-Defense Night. The polygraph test showed her to be truthful about all of the difficult questions he asked, so he could live with that. He actually signed up for boxing lessons. Rachel decided to sign them up for martial arts classes. She was a natural, and he could barely hang with her, sparring together was the best foreplay they had found. The project came in 6 weeks ahead of schedule and under budget, and Ethan's company was now playing with the big boys when it came to government contracts. They tried to move him to a vice presidency position, but he declined because it required too much travel. Instead, he basically created a special projects division, and now he had a new office and an executive assistant. His new executive assistant had the nicest rear and a megawatt smile. So far, no one had complained about him and his wife working together as long as they made money, and he didn't think anyone would. The majority of the $45,000 bonus for his initial project went into Lila's college fund, but he saved enough for an all-inclusive resort week with his wife. Logan was sentenced to 3 to 5 years in prison for attempted assault and possession of a controlled substance, and he was kicked out of his car while walking home at night. Logan's parents were prepared to return his daughter when they arrived home, and he was charged with a misdemeanor assault for punching the jerk. Thank you for watching. What would you do in this situation? Let us know in the comments, and remember to subscribe for more tales.